Hello, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast. My name is Nate. This is my lovely wife, Deanna.
Hello.
And this is the Photo Album Podcast. We are happy to be here. We are in full swing, and we got another episode ready for you. This episode tonight is, I think, episode number 8. I could be wrong there. It could be episode number 7. I'm starting to lose count, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, but I'm pretty sure it's episode 8, if I'm not mistaken. What we wanted to do tonight was earlier in this podcast series, we did an episode all about myself, and that episode just kind of went through my life and through some major pivotal moments in my life, if you will. And I wanted to be able to do another episode similar to that, all about Deanna. This is kind of a scratch the surface series of this podcast, this very first series, just letting you know a little bit more about us. And we thought it would be good to just kind of let you know a little bit more about Deanna and what it's like to grow up as a pastor's child. I think that's a pretty unique experience. I don't think many of you out there can say that you've gone through the same thing. And I think that there's probably a lot of differences in what she went through as a child as opposed to someone who was not a pastor's child. We wanted to do an episode like that. Let you know a little bit more about Deanna. If you haven't already, we encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on Spotify. Do you subscribe on Spotify?
I don't know.
We'll get there. Go ahead and give us a like, a follow. We're on Instagram and Facebook. If you're not already following us, even if you're following us on Instagram and you're not following us on Facebook, go ahead and follow us on Facebook. We want you to do that. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok also. I'm not gonna pressure anyone there. We might not be on TikTok much longer. I don't really like dealing with TikTok. I've gotten copyright strikes for
songs that you've written,
for songs that I've put together.
Created.
And although I do appreciate that, TikTok, thank you for looking out for me, but it's a little annoying. So I don't know how much longer we'll be doing that, but in the meantime, go ahead and follow us or do whatever you got to do on TikTok. We're again episode 8, I think, and we're happy to be here. Just a reminder, this is a podcast about us. This podcast is for us. This is for us to look back on 10 years from now, 20 years from now, hopefully. And this is for us to just see where we were that many years ago. This is us. This is a way for us to see what our children were like at this age. Molly's 6 years old. Our twins are 4 years old each. It's 2026. Who knows? We might not even be here in 5 years. This world might be over by then.
AI will have taken over.
Yeah. This podcast will be replaced with AI hosts.
Yeah.
And we'll
wearing our skin.
We'll be able to kick back and watch ourselves.
We wouldn't be able to do that because never mind. Keep going.
Because we're dead? Because AI took over? Before the takeover.
I said they were wearing our skin.
Well, I didn't know if you meant our actual skin.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, though.
Hopefully not.
That doesn't sound great.
So
yeah, you took that down.
Took that dark.
Anyway, before we get into this episode, as usual, we're going to talk about what is going on in our lives right now. What what's happening, and what is. Believe it or not, this is take 2 because we blew through this part on take 1.
That was my fault. I was too nervous.
We're going to go ahead and talk about that. Because we want to be able to look back and say, oh yeah, I remember when that happened,
yeah.
or I remember going through that. And I've got a poor memory. I don't know about you, but I can't remember. I can't remember a whole lot for some reason.
All that partying.
Oh, stop. That's not true. But yeah, I do have a poor memory, so I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to watch this and go, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that moment. Speaking of, what is going on right now? What's happening? I just said it's 2026. It's actually March of 2026.
Just had a birthday.
I did just have a birthday.
Molly had her half birthday.
Her half birthday.
I mean, everybody did know.
She woke up and she told me that before she said happy birthday.
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I just turned 42, which is crazy. You know what I just heard actually?
Yeah.
That, with the current events happening right now, I'm pretty sure I just heard that they extended the draft age from like whatever the minimum age is to 42.
Oh.
42 is how I want to say the draft or maybe the maximum enlistment age. Pretty sure they were talking about draft. Scary word, but 42. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. Maybe I'm.
Why
making,
would they raise it? Are they planning on doing a draft?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm thinking, go figure. I just turned 42, and look, I've got the worst luck.
Yeah.
I'm going to be shipping off next week. But no, I thought that was interesting. 42,
not, yeah.
And I'm thinking like, man, 42 years old. You don't want me defending this country. I'm gonna.
That you wouldn't get. You'd be.
I'm out of breath after reloading my gun.
No, but you are like legally blind, aren't you? You're not really, but you've got poor eyesight.
Yeah, I've always had poor eyesight. Though.
Yeah, but I just mean like I thought that was like a.
Yeah, no. Obviously, you have to be. You got to meet some qualifications.
Yeah, some kind of qualification.
Look, I'll be in the back line like polishing shoes or something like that. I'm like, yes, sir. No, sir. That's fine with me. But yeah, so I just turned 42. And
yeah, that would be awful. Anyway.
What else? What else is going on? What else did we say was worth talking about? We were extremely sick.
Very sick.
A week ago.
Yeah. I that took me down. I was pretty sick. You'd been sick too. Adeline kind of got it, but not really. She has been like, so far, both Annie and Addie, the days that we've kept each of them home from school, like they were then fine throughout. Like she was absolutely fine for the entire day.
Yeah.
But
she loved it.
She did love it.
She's never had a day off like that by herself. And it was like she was finding everything to be brand new.
Mm-hmm. Playing with everything. Yeah, she just suddenly, toys that are like just so boring every other day. She was just in awe of, and
unlike Annie, who after halfway through the day was just like, "Where's Addie?
Where's that?" Yeah, it was. You weren't even home from dropping them off, and she was like, "When's Molly and Addie coming home?" No, but it was cute when Annie came home. She, Addie, I missed you. Right. It was very sweet.
Meanwhile,
Molly, I think, took good care of her while she was by herself at school.
Meanwhile, Addie, being alone all day,
she was
comes into my office and say, hey, where's Annie? Who's Annie?
She didn't know.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, she had a great day by herself.
Did have a good day.
But yeah, the illness was like fever symptoms.
Yeah, it was not fun. Fever, chills. Yeah, like that you just couldn't I had a high fever. And yeah, with me and my anxiety, I was like, are my organs melting? It was like 103 and it like was not coming down for like a solid 48 hours. But
yeah. Hopefully that's it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like we were due. I don't know. I say that often, I think, but
I felt like I was. I feel like the past few illnesses y'all have gotten.
Yeah, you've been getting.
I sail through.
Yeah, so you were definitely due.
Especially all like the stomach stuff, you guys. I'm always.
Yeah. We're in the clear right now. I think I think that sickness is pretty much over, and
it turned into like a head cold, which I feel like I have now. But
yeah,
which I never really felt like went. I feel like it started with a head cold. It got better, never really fully went away, and then I got the fever. It was I don't know, bizarre, but it is what it is.
But yeah, hopefully that's it because we are starting to get some really nice weather.
Yeah, it's been. I know that was the worst part was that the weekend was beautiful, and I spent it inside in bed because I was just
But yeah, the weather's been getting nice. Thursday was really nice. Mm-hmm. I think tomorrow's going to be decent, and then I think Monday's going to be pretty nice too. And
then all rain.
Yeah, which that's fine. I honestly think I'd rather take a rainy day with like 60-something degree weather than once the summer kicks in, and it's just, we got to close all the doors and windows.
Right, because it's like 1,000 degrees.
Yeah,
I
I'll
agree.
take rainy. Oh, there it is.
There
There's
it
our
is.
dryer. I knew that was going to happen during this podcast, but hey, sometimes you got to dry your clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that actually came through, but if anyone has an LG dryer or washing machine that does this little
Jingle.
wonder whose idea that was.
I don't know.
Anyway, anything else going on?
We have your birthday dinner tomorrow at my parents' house.
That's I'll tell you what,
I'm looking forward to that.
I have been looking forward to that since the day that your mom texted us about it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if she would, if she'd come through and
I think she knows.
I'm sure she knows, yeah. But I don't want anyone else in the family to feel like, oh, why does Nate get that meal and everyone else gets, something not as good. Not that anything isn't as good, but obviously we all know.
We all
know this is the best meal. You're all welcome.
Beef and spatula. We didn't say it. I know someone will ask.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's everyone in our family knows.
Everyone in our family knows.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, she said something like over a week ago, and
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it every day. So I'm already thinking like tomorrow, I'll have to eat something small in the morning to get my stomach ready, because if I just go there without eating all day and just go right into it,
sealed together.
yeah, I'm gonna eat a couple spoonfuls and not be able to. So I'll probably eat something in the morning to kind of prep
correctly.
and then, but like super early. That way, I'm actually getting pretty hungry by the time lunch comes around. So
Right, because it's not a double. I keep forgetting it's only a one service.
right. Also, it's probably worth mentioning that you got me this inversion table.
I did get
for my birthday.
You've been mentioning
Yeah.
that you wanted to try it. So you're so difficult to buy gifts for. I thought, I know what to do.
Deanna got me an inversion table. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's one of them stand-up tables. You put your ankles in and you flip upside down. And I'll tell you what.
Where it was like
Right. I went on like the second level one, and I already felt like I was completely upside down, but I definitely felt some relief in my back, and I am looking forward to trying further levels. Although I feel like I look absolutely ridiculous, and I'm the person that's either going to get stuck on it or I'm going to make a wrong move and flip sideways. But if all that sounds bad, as I was disassembling it to bring it down to the basement, I busted our TV in our living room, and man, I wasn't happy about that.
And the girls, I just come in the door, and they're all crying. I don't know why they were so upset.
I don't think they were crying.
Molly was. She was on the couch crying. I said, "Why are you upset?" And
I think she was she was upset because the TV was broken and she couldn't watch her silly cartoon.
But she made it seem like she was traumatized.
Well, it's not like I was standing there yelling or anything like that. Right. I think I just kind of I was just so angry at myself because I should have just. And the whole reason this happened was because
I bought it for you.
No, the reason it happened is because, well, Annabelle decided she was going to build a magnetile house under it, directly under it. So I'm standing there. All right, let me try to, because the thing is made to compact together, close up, and be able to store easily. And so I'm walking on eggshells, and I'm trying not to knock over this magnetile house, and
which was built gravity defying.
Right.
I saw it. I don't know how she does that.
Not only did that thing make it through the disassembling of the inversion table, it also made it through the entire replacement TV process that I went through, because immediately I left and went out and bought a new TV and replaced this one, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to sleep. It would sit on my mind.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that's the kind of week that I've been having. Yeah. Did you notice these lights weren't working all week, these LED strip lights?
Notice that.
Just another thing that, just kind of added to the pile this week, where I was just like, man, I got to get that done. Anyway.
See, I felt like I got all of their with the seasons changing and whatnot, and cleaned out all the old size clothes, put in all the new ones, and got everything cleaned up, vacuumed everything upstairs, everything put away. And you busted the TV, so you left. And I was like, all right, let's not play in the living room because Daddy has like wires and stuff. So let's go upstairs. In the time it took you to get back with the TV, they destroyed their rooms.
Right.
And I just was like, this is how it goes. And that's probably every mom. But it's like the moment you clean something,
Sure.
they destroy it.
Yeah, I mean that
Hours mopping the
Right.
kitchen floor.
Right.
And Addie drops ice cream all over.
And that's kind of how this week has gone. Like, yeah, I just feel like every time I try to like fix something or take care of something, finally, like I had a couple days off last week. I thought, all right, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get that done. I mean, who knew I was going to replace 2 TVs within 2 days? And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, it's the truth. Yeah.
Right. But
2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
that's how this week has been.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're happy to be here. We're happy to be alive.
Yeah.
We're happy to have this life. And, I try not to complain too much, but I've done a lot of that recently. So, but let's get into this episode. I want to know more about you. And, yeah, why don't you go ahead and dive right in? Tell us all about yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So, born and raised in a Christian home. And my dad has been the pastor of our church for most of my life. I mean, everything that I remember is him being a pastor.
Most of my life.
Most of your life. I want to say he's been a pastor my entire life, but he's been at the church we're at now for most of my life.
Right.
Yeah, which I guess I don't know. I'm trying to think when my brother was born. I guess he wasn't yet, but that doesn't matter. We're not talking about him. We're talking about me.
Yeah. Well, I think I was. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I was 6 years old when your dad. Well, how long has he been a pastor?
How long has he been a pastor?
What year? 93.
I want to say he
I'm sorry.
came to the church when in 93.
I would have been 9 years old.
Yeah, because I was.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the unique things outside of just my dad being a pastor, he was one of 6 children, and they're an Irish Catholic family that all got saved when they were young, and all moved in. They moved from Kensington to the town we're in now, and they all kind of stayed for the most part. I mean, some of them moved, relocated different states and whatnot. But for the most part, they all live in the same small town, and we all grew up together in the same small town. My aunt and uncle live right around the corner. My grandparents lived there, since.
Your grandfather was McDonald and your grandmother was
McDevitt. And they live next door to each other in Philadelphia.
Real Irish.
Yeah. We're next door to each other across the street. I don't remember. But yes, very Irish family, McDonald and McDevitt. And so I grew up in a Christian family, not only my immediate family, but all my extended family. Just a good picture of a Christ-like marriage within my parents, but also I saw that in my aunts and uncles, and I saw it in my grandparents. And, I was very close with all my cousins. I mean, they were my closest friends. So it was just, to me, it was normal, but I realized as I got older, the uniqueness of that, but just that going over my closest friend's house, Christ was in that home, and their parents were God-fearing, and so they were raised to be God-fearing, and that was just so normal, and it was just in all facets of my life. And then we were involved in the church. My dad was the pastor.
Right. Well, it's funny you said about, as far as like everyone in your life, even like your closest friends who were really your cousins.
My cousins,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
With just, the comparison, like when I was kind of going through my story of,
right.
All my closest friends, I mean, we were the only ones that were Christians.
Right. Right. And so for me, I just kind of thought that was normal. That wasn't abnormal to me. And yeah, I never really grew up having it where it was like what was in our home was different than in other people's homes.
Right.
Now, obviously, like there were some township kids
Sure.
that I played, but it was like an outside thing. I really didn't go in their houses much. I didn't interact with their parents. So like,
Those are the kids that you and your cousin Rachel or cousin Sarah would make fun of, right?
no, no, at that point, Sarah probably was not in, I think they moved to Georgia.
Oh, yeah, right. That's right. I was just joking.
No, I did not. Anyway. Um, no. So, yeah, we had a good church family. One of the things I have to say about our church family that I feel like has been unique is having grown up in the church. I feel like so many of the people who would have watched me growing up, who would have seen, when you're a kid, so many of the kids in our church also went to the same school as us. We all went to a Christian school. It was a great Christian school. Unfortunately, is no longer around. But just that those parents, I feel like, gave me grace to grow up. When you're a kid, you do, not that I like did outlandish stupid things, but just, you're dumb. Like you're dumb, you have pride issues or this issue or that issue or whatever. And just kind of giving me the grace to grow up, to be an adult and not kind of hold on to, whatever I would have grown through as a kid. I just felt like I never felt like I was sitting there being like, why won't you just let me leave my past in my past? Or like, why won't you just, I always just felt like there was a lot of grace to kind of grow up into a new phase of life. The only thing, and I think I mentioned this to you before, was I helped with the youth group for a while. And this is an example going against what I just said, but this is kind of what I mean that I feel like did not happen often, is in that I think it was like a Wednesday night, probably Thanksgiving or something, where they pass the mic around and you can thank God for something or other. I don't know. And I think I mentioned something about the youth group, and I said something about the kids, and just the impact the kids have had, blah, 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 blah. And someone came up to me afterwards and was like, you kept calling them kids. Aren't you in the youth group? And I'm like, well, I'm 25, but like, so no, but it was someone old enough that like, they were allowed to ask, like,
right.
But there wasn't a lot of that. I felt like I was able to kind of grow into an adult and not feel like I was still treated like a child.
Right. Now, I feel like the kids of pastors typically get like a bad rap. Like, I think I want to say like the common outcome is, a very rebellious.
Yeah, and that's kind of the next thing I was going to go on. I think part of what helped that within, just the church kind of I feel like they did it for my siblings as well. I don't know about what they would say, but I feel like the church, they would agree with me in that. But I think what helped that a lot is, even though my dad would use a lot of like family stories as like analogies, or kind of that people would laugh, it'd be funny, this and that.
In his sermons.
In his sermons,
yeah.
Yes. He uses a lot of real world examples in his sermons. Believe it or not, I actually felt like he was quite private with us, in that like whatever season we were in was kind of closed off. He did not like air our issues, whatever rebelliousness we were going through, or like whatever kind of, he didn't talk about them. He would talk about like the funny stories. And if there was one that like kind of highlighted maybe our sin nature, it was usually we were a child. So, he might be telling a story about me when I was like 7, like, and at no age would I really care. I was 7 years old. It didn't
right.
matter. So I felt like he was actually quite gracious in keeping our private life private, and didn't just kind of exploit us and embarrass us on stage. I never felt like that, no matter through all the stories that he told. People have asked me that, oh, did it ever get embarrassing, your dad talking about? You're like, no, because he's just telling a funny story or this or that. I never felt like, and in fact, if there was ever something borderline, he usually asked, do you feel okay with me sharing this? And it would be like, yeah, I don't care. But I would also say that the big thing with pastors' kids, and I try and sit there and put myself in their position. I can't imagine how it would feel to have your father up there preaching and him be talking about, say, anger, but had spent the week screaming and angry. And just to sit there and be like, this isn't real. Like, there would just be something so hardening of my heart to sit there and listen to him talk about that if I didn't feel like it was real in his life. In fact, my dad, it was so real in his life. I feel like I can remember times where, if I use the example of anger, like, anyone who knows my dad knows he only gets angry when the Eagles are losing or when he's driving. Like, he just is not an angry person at all. But I can just hear him in the car driving and being like, oh, why did you? I'm fine. Everything's fine. God's good.
Right.
It doesn't bother me that he just cut me off. Like him, trying to be like overly like, everything's okay. I'm not going to be angry right now. I'm cool and easy, Vince. Like,
that's a superpower.
Trying to be, yeah. But then on Sunday morning, he would be preaching about, I found myself this week getting angry and I wanted to be, all right, God. And me sitting there and being like, all right, this makes sense. I watched him put into practice what it was that he was sermon prepping. And it was affecting his life. It was landing on his heart. He wasn't just, saying just knowledge in his head. He was putting it to practice in his life before he even preached it. And that was huge.
Yeah, I'd imagine that has I'd imagine your experience, a lot of because of who your dad is.
Yeah.
And look, I don't. It's not like I know a ton of pastors and a ton of pastors' kids who have turned out to be like bad kids or anything like that. But yeah, sure. I mean, your dad is a unique individual, and so yeah, maybe that's why you're the exception as a pastor's kid to not rebel too much, or maybe you did rebel more than I actually know.
No, I really didn't. That's why
that was your opportunity to be like, well, there was this one time. No, that's good. Look, that's a good testament.
No, I mean, I think that's kind of the case. I do feel like for pastors, in some ways, there is, when it comes to your kids, there is a heavy burden in the fact of to be sure that you're practicing what you preach. But I also feel like the impact it had on me to watch him practice what he preached, it almost like was irrefutable. You couldn't, there was, you couldn't sit there and be like, well, I don't know if I believe all this stuff, because I'm watching the impact it's having on my family, and it's a positive one. And whereas the opposite, I almost feel like is true. I don't know how you would go on to cultivate a positive relationship with the Lord if you're watching your father declare something from the pulpit that he doesn't clearly it doesn't read that he believes during the week, because he's not living what it is that he's saying. And not that my dad wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that. He was very close though. Like, I just mean, I know he wasn't perfect because I know he was human.
Sure.
Otherwise, I there's no like glaring moment in my life where I'm like, he didn't handle this right. Like it.
Now, do you feel like, at a young age, do you recall any times, or do you remember anything that, you just remember thinking like, oh, well, this is only happening to me because, I'm the daughter of a pastor, or, I want to do this, but I know that I can't because I not only do I have such a strong conscience about this, but I know it's going to make my dad, look bad, really bad. I mean, I would imagine, and especially, with the kind of person that you are, to to really, make sure that you're not representing your dad in a bad way. I'm just curious if there was anything you can remember
Being
that.
young and growing up, I think I just had I don't know that I would have had the forethought to be like, he's a pastor and therefore I'm going to make him look bad. I just did not want to disappoint him.
Right.
So, I mean, my fear of authority was high because it was like, I don't want to disappoint my dad. Like, I don't.
Well, so let me ask you this.
Sure.
What was going through your mind when you got your nose pierced?
What was going through my mind when I got my nose
Because I know that was like
Well, that was a thing. That was
Right.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an issue. You know what though? He didn't tell me I couldn't. I think the big thing was that I was leaving their home. So I was going to be going off to college, which hindsight, I couldn't wear it in college anyway. So it was a terrible decision.
I just know I came home one time
Yeah.
at my parents' house with my ears pierced, and I'm pretty sure my dad threatened to pull them out with a pair of pliers. But
Yeah, I remember my brother coming home with his first tattoo.
yeah,
And my dad, he was like, I don't know why. I feel like he might not have been. He might have been eating nothing. I feel like he was like cutting steak and was just like, looks nice. Like he was, but my mom just sobbed. And because my brother like pulled it off and it's like this bloody patch.
yeah, right.
And she was like, what have you done to your body? And my dad just was like unimpressed, but like also, I don't know. I mean, but just kind of like, I don't know. Honestly, I think if he wasn't a past, no, I can't say that because he is he's fear of needles. Like I can't picture him undergoing a process of a tattoo just because of that
Right.
simply. But yeah, I mean, when I got my nose pierced, I remember wanting to get it pierced, and I do remember him asking me to wait until I was leaving their home.
Okay.
Because he felt like, I think there was like a very specific situation that he had just counseled with like the parent being very against it and him kind of being like,
Right.
you got to listen to your parents, blah, blah, blah. And him just being like, if you can get it done once you're out of my home, then you're your own person. And I don't have to like, can you just wait
Right.
a year? And
was there anything else like that you just weren't sure if you should? Obviously, every kid probably goes through the same thing with their parents, but just because like something visual, obviously, where like
yeah.
I don't know, maybe
I can remember one particular time wearing something and coming down the steps. And I can't say that I can't say that I put it on like knowing he was not going to be okay with it, but definitely not like I wanted him to see me. And I don't know if it was so much because I myself wasn't sure about it and kind of wanted to be like, if he doesn't say anything, then I guess or if it was almost that like, I do feel like there's this when you're that young, 15, whatever year old girl, that's almost kind of like, is he going to say anything? Like almost testing the waters of, are you aware of me?
right.
And I do remember him being kind of like, where's the other half of that? Like, or something like, just something to the effect. And I just remember not giving him a heart. It would just be like, all right, I'm going up and I'm getting changed. And it being like, I wasn't like looking to fight with him about it, but I do feel like I remember being like, I want to see what he's going to say about this. And yeah.
Yeah, I should be writing stuff down just so I can, figure out like how do we keep our girls like
Modest. Oh,
Yeah,
I have a whole, because I do think that I feel like that ends up becoming something that, I don't know, maybe it's not anymore, but I remember growing up that becoming a topic that I felt like our school or like the youth group would handle. And I really feel like that's a topic for a dad to handle. Like
Yeah.
it became, I'm not going to get off on all
Sure.
of that, but it was I've recently been thinking about like the parable of the talents, and the master giving his servants each, I think it's like 5, 3, and 1 talent or whatever. And, the first two invest it, double it, and the other one like digs a hole and sticks it in the ground. And kind of that sense of whatever has been given to you, much is expected. And I do look at my life and say, I mean, my dad alone, it's a 5-talent life. Like, just what I was given in him, let alone my mom or just the siblings I had, the extended family, all the different things. Just my dad alone, I really was given so much. And, just the insight and wisdom I had from him whenever I wanted it. So, reading something in the Bible and being like, what does this mean? What was happening at this time? What was going on here? And being able to just go and ask him about anything that I wanted, and him being ready to talk to me about it. I mean, I can't tell you how many just late night conversations between myself and one of my siblings and my dad, and just going over, just different passages of the Bible, or different points, or different, how do you then apply this part to your life, and this and that. And as it was such a gift. But it was also something that I found that as I got older, looking back at it, I do feel like the Bible in a lot of sense is almost like an archaeological dig. Like, the first time you read it, you kind of glean one thing.
Sure.
The next time you read it, you kind of uncover more. And
for sure.
And as you keep going through it and you're getting more and more familiar with things, you're realizing, okay, this is a callback to this, and there's this, kind of foreshadowing here, and this. And it is one of those things, as someone who I really enjoy literature, just the art of writing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy reading, and just there's so much structure to it, but also bending of rules, and so many different skills that when you look at the Bible, I mean, they're just all there. It is one of those things I've heard other people talk about, so I actually heard the other day a guy talking about how, like, the perfect rectangle, when you draw it to scale, and then within the rectangle, there's like, you can create the perfect triangle and like the perfect circle, and it's all this like mathematical. And when you do all of that, he basically was like, this point of the triangle to here is actually the space between the earth and the moon, and then the sun would be here. And like all the perfect dimensions is like, he maps out the exact distances with all like the galaxies, or I don't know. I know nothing about outer space, but he's basically like mapping out the distance between like the earth and the moon is here, and then the sun's there, and this and that. And he was basically like, this, if you want to know why I have no doubt that there's a God, this is why I have it is literally mapped to perfection.
Right.
And that's one of those things for me, that in looking at the Bible, it's like, you want to know that it's inspired. I mean, the symbolism, the narrative text, there are so many pieces to it that all weave so intentionally and perfectly together that no one can make that up. No, and because if they could, they would have done it again already, and we haven't. I mean, it just is unbelievable how it all weaves together, and that it was written by so many different people. It's mind-blowing. But when, in a lot of ways, when you're getting that information from somebody else and you're not doing it yourself, not that I did read my Bible, I did spend time with the Lord, I did, but I think it's important, obviously, to have people teaching into your life, because there's so many different revelations I'd never be able to make on my own. But it's kind of like when it comes to like literature, when you think of something like The Great Gatsby, the main character is Gatsby, but it's told by Nick Carraway's point of view. in order to make Gatsby mythic and legend, and you don't really know what he's going to do next or why he does what he does next because you don't really know him. You just know about him. And I feel like that's kind of becomes the same. You hear all about God, but do you have an intimate relationship with God? And I did. I'm not saying that I didn't. I had a relationship with the Lord, but I think I started to put a lot of the weight of my relationship with the Lord. I siphoned that through my dad as opposed to it being something that I held on to just myself. And what I mean by that is we're a high emotion family. So we feel things, we're very joyous. We feel things, we're very sad. Like it's just high emotion. And so, just having times where being like, I just don't feel like the Lord is near me. I just feel so distant from him. I don't know why. When I talk to him, I just don't feel like he's there. And going to my dad and talking to him about it, and him, always the best advice. He was never like, well, this is the only place you should have come with that. Like, I mean, he would always be like, go back and talk to the Lord. Like the Lord is there. But I can always remember him like, giving me examples of the Bible, like he says here that he's with you. He will never leave you, this and that. And then, my dad would hug me and be like, Deanna, I just want, you can be confident right now that the Lord is wrapping his arms around you. He's telling you that he loves you. Everything that he's done is because he loves you. And walking away and being like, oh yeah, God loves me. But was my faith, did I believe that God loves me because God tells me he loves me? Or did I believe that God loves me because my dad told me God loves me? And in a lot of ways, I think that's just kind of a natural child navigating their faith.
Sure.
Kind of, you really are siphoning it from your parents for a long while.
I think basically what you're getting at here is that what most people might think, being the child of a pastor or a minister or whatever, sounds like a tough life. It sounds like it. It was
wonderful.
It was amazing. It was very much to your benefit.
Absolutely.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, man, my girls, my girls don't stand a chance.
No.
I'm not going to be able to, even come close to.
That's not true. God put them in our family because you have something specific that they will glean from you. But
yeah, it sounds like, in your situation, it was
great. It was great. And it was. But, and you know what? I sometimes think about the fact that like we were high emotion kids even, and that my parents kind of understood that. I sometimes think like if I grew up, I mean, your parents are wonderful parents, but you guys are not high emotion people. So if I like grew up in your home with all my emotion, I feel like your parents would be like, I don't know what to do with her. She's happy one minute, she's sad the next. I don't know what to do. So like, yeah, I mean, my parents knew how to kind of like help shape that and mold that in all three of us. But yeah, no, I think that yes, you think about the story. I'm trying to think. The guy who recently talked about how he went to some camp with his daughter, and the whole thing was they blindfolded her and they led them into the woods.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to call to her,
right.
And she knows to hear his voice because she's so familiar with it.
Did you send that to me or?
I don't think so.
Okay, I saw it.
And I do feel like in a lot of ways, now in some ways it was to my benefit because my dad was such a beacon of Christ. I mean, such a man of let them see you, God, and forget the channel kind of person, that I would say that the voice that I knew and recognized was my dad's, not necessarily the Lord's. But my dad was saying all the things the Lord would say. So I feel like I never really got like thrown off kilter or whatever because there was never like a poor message that I was
Sure.
holding on to.
Even if it is your dad's voice, I mean, he's, you know, he speaks the word of the Lord so clearly
Yeah, yeah.
that, yeah, that makes total sense
Mm-hmm.
that you're hearing what God has to say just using your dad's voice.
Yeah.
And yeah, that doesn't sound like there's anything wrong with that at all.
But it did end up when I then no longer lived in my parents' home and my dad wasn't readily available. I did feel like I suddenly went through kind of a drought where I felt like I couldn't hear the Lord because I felt like I was actually, and this is going to sound, just go with me. I was actually physically hearing his voice in my dad. So when my dad would say to me, Deanna, the Lord loves you. He's saying to you right now, Deanna, I love you. I mean, you're hearing it. Like, yeah, you can sit there and you can feel that emotion. And, one of the big things my dad always would say to me is feeling is fleeting. You have to remember what is true. Emotions change. And whatever you feel in the moment, I don't feel like God's near. Well, that doesn't change what's true. That's just a feeling. But feelings enhance all sorts of things. So to then not have him readily available because, I mean, not that he wasn't available, but just if he's available when I'm not, and when I am, he's not. Like, just that's life. To then not just be able to walk down the steps and be like, Dad, I want to talk to you all about X, Y, and Z. And even to text him, I almost was finding it's not the same because I'm not getting his physical voice talking back to me. It's a text and it's not impacting me. And realizing like I needed more from him and kind of feeling, as I look back, watching the Lord be like, all right, he's a good picture of me, but just turn this way towards me and not him. Because yes, he is like a good reflection, but he's not me. And I mean, as we moved into, especially with Molly, having Molly, she is my dad's just ultimate best friend. And, just not, whenever I'm with him, she's taking up the attention as she should.
Sure.
And,
But I mean, even I've experienced that
Yeah.
where I mean, your dad has been my pastor my whole life. Obviously, even though I walked away for several years, your dad, unfortunately, having kids doesn't ruin everything. But in that circumstance, it's like, the few times that I actually get to talk to your dad, it's rare that, I can really have like and I don't want to make it sound awful, but it's rare that you get to have a meaningful conversation without either being interrupted or just his attention being, taken away by one of our kids. And it's,
well, and that was the thing. Like, we would often eat dinner as a family, and then we'd end up sitting there for a while talking. When I lived in their home, and now it turned into like he's having a quick finish because Molly and Grayson want him to come down and do whatever it is that they're going to do. And just really not having, and you want him to be able to pour in their lives. So I'm not like, bothered, but it is that sense of not really being able to have all of his attention or be able to ask him everything I want or talk about this or that. And, and at the same time, I would say, I know, like, for me, I remember hearing once a woman talking about Genesis and the beginning of the Bible and the fall, and one of the, the curse of, it says like a woman will want for her husband and he will rule over her. And that word in particular, we take at it that it's, she will have trouble submitting to him. She'll want to rule over him, but he'll rule over her. And there's a lot of reasons, the next chapter over, I want to say it's just the next chapter over, but, God says something to Cain about like he uses the same exact like phrasing about the devil will want for you, but you'll, have, rule over him or whatever. But so obviously, when you look at the two words, you can clearly say, okay, this is what, the devil wants to devour and rule over Cain. And, but that word can mean more than one thing. And I remember this woman talking about how one of the meanings for it, which we don't see it show up to mean that way in the Bible again, which I think is why we don't put that weight on it, is that literally you will want for your husband. It will become a form of idolatry. His opinion and your worth will be held up in him. And that no longer will you see yourself as a child of God, but as a wife of this person. And I remember that really like settling with me, because I felt like at a time when, I should have been moving to, all right, my dad's not here anymore, and now I can tilt my head and look at Christ. I started like going too far in a sense. And I mean, we've talked about this, that I felt like a day that you have a bad day, which you're allowed to have, would shake my day. Is he okay? Is he upset? What's going on? Like, which is not fair to you, but also would affect me. Everything, my worth was caught up in what you thought my worth was in that moment. And so as that shifted or changed on days that I know there's moments I'm not as lovable, and you feel that, oh, she's driving me crazy or whatever it can be.
Never.
I would then feel that, okay, I'm not worth as much anymore, because my worth in his, now whether, again, it's a lot of my opinion of what you're thinking, not necessarily that he never said to me, you're not worth as much right now. But I just mean in your every action, if your action is showing me, okay, he's not happy with me right now, my worth has just changed, because it's solely built up in my husband. And then you have kids, and that becomes another aspect of, if they're not, if they're acting up, if they're this or that, and now my worth is within what kind of children I have, as opposed to building it in the Lord. And I can remember, I'll never forget after we had the twins and I had a C-section, and our parents were all here except for my dad. Your parents were here, my mom was here, and it just being like, I need them here. I don't want them to leave, but also there's people everywhere. Like I'm never alone. I like feel like I can't. It's just one of those toughest times to get through, because I'd be like, I need to be alone, but nobody move. Everybody stay helping, because we have literally 2 infants and a newly 2-year-old child. And my dad was not really around as much, because at the time, someone who was very close to the family, it was during COVID, and he had gotten COVID. And so my dad was with his family and him a lot, because he was not doing well. And so when he would come, he would almost bring this like sad air, like, and not, I don't mean that like, I mean like truly you wanted to hear what was happening, but at the same time, it was like heartbreaking. And you're just sitting there like, and like as someone with my hormones all over the place, I just remember being like, this is heavy. So like, I want you here, but I almost don't want you here. But I do remember him once coming in, and I, at the moment, was just overwhelmed. There was just too much. And I remember him walking in and just feeling like, oh my gosh, my dad's here. Like everything just fell away because my dad was here. And like, I'm just so happy that he's here, even though everyone else in our family is here too. Like, I'm just so happy my dad's here. And I remember talking to him, as time went on. I went back to work after the twins after 8 weeks, which I don't recommend or advise. And just working full time from home, again, 2 infant children, a newly 2-year-old, and just underwater, just feeling like I am trying my best. I've always really had a good work ethic and feeling like I put a lot of stock in that. But now I'm having to shift and change that because I have my children, and also feeling like I'm not able to meet their needs because I'm working, and just feeling, our house, I can't stay on top of our house. I can't do this. I can't, and feeling like I'm just on consistent go. And I remember saying to my dad, I just don't feel like the Lord is here. And I know that I will look back and say the Lord was faithful even when I was faithless. And, on the days where I woke up and said, good morning, God. And then I went to bed and said, haven't talked to you since this morning, God. But also feeling like I don't have the power to change that, feeling that way. It's not necessarily true, but feeling like I am on constant go. And the voice that I'm looking for to just make me feel like you're doing a good job, you're getting, is not there. The voice I'm hearing is negative. This isn't enough. We're not doing good enough. We got to do better. And, this wasn't done right. This wasn't done right. Just not feeling any kind of acknowledgement or positivity for everything that I'm doing, while also feeling like I'm being crushed by it. And, even just when you look on social media and it'd be like, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. No, we don't. And it just being like, I don't feel validated. But just, a lot of my worth is shifting, dependent on non-steady things. And I remember just feeling like in a lot of ways was nosediving. Like this, I'm just trying to get from 1 minute to the next minute, to the next minute, to the next minute. And at one point sitting there with the Lord and just being like, I am feeling, I'm just moving through the day joyless, just kind of like, all right, one day this will get better. And one day and I just remember feeling like the Lord was just like, you know what? No matter what anyone else sees, I see you. And I see the moments that you wish I wouldn't see, but I also see the moments that you wish your husband saw or your kids were appreciative of, or, you could post all over social media, or, that like I see the times when you feel mistreated. I see the times when you feel overwhelmed, but still give 100%. I see the times when you feel your anxiety is crushing you. I see all those things. And all I want is for you to see me during those times. All I want is for in those moments you to say, Lord, the only opinion that matters is your opinion. And I just remember feeling the same way I did when I saw my dad come in the door after having new children. Just that sense of like, I can just let everything else go. I can just let everything else go, because all that matters is, am I honoring the Lord? Am I focused on Christ? Nothing else matters. And just that sense of, all right, God, if I'm going into this moment with my kids, with my husband, with my work, with my friends, saying, all right, Lord, I'm going to make sure that I can stay, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but that I can look at you and be proud of my every interaction here. That's all that matters. Whether they receive it the way that I feel like is fair, or whether, my kids give me a hard time and don't just go, okay, Mom, like that, I can sit in front of the Lord and say, I did this with integrity. I did this in an effort to honor you. You saw what I did. You saw how I was treated, or you saw what I did when no one else could see, just the day in and the day out, whether it's appreciated or not appreciated. And you do appreciate me. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm, Cinderella over here. But I just mean all those things to then say, okay, my identity is going to be built on who God sees me and the worth that he gives me. And yeah, I think in being able to hear his voice, that's his voice. And that's his, just keep looking at me. Keep looking at me. And I have to say I feel like it took me from a place of feeling like, God, I know you're there, and I love you, and I believe in you, obviously, but this is just trudgery to color and life. And yeah.
Now, do you still hear it in your dad's voice? Like, do you still?
No, I would say for a while I did. There was a time where I felt like I literally sat there and was like, like yes, if I was trying, I would hear my dad. I'd hear that. But now, no. I mean, I just the other day, I forget, one of the girls said something about driving, and it made me think of like my driver's ed test, having to parallel park. And I literally, I looked up, because I remember saying for a little while there, like, when you think about times where you look back on your life and you go, like, the Lord was with me there. That was one of those times where I'm like, I don't know how I did that. Like, the guy got out and measured with like a ruler and everything, and I was perfect. And I just remember being like, I don't know. And so literally when I think it was Addie said something, and it made me think of that. And I just kind of looked up and I laughed. And in my mind, I was just kind of like, just me and the Lord. I was like, I don't think I wouldn't be able to pass that driver's test today. I don't think I'd be able to parallel park.
When was the last time you had to parallel park?
And I started laughing, and Addie looked at me and was like, "What? What was so funny?" And I said, honestly, Addie, I'm just I'm talking to the Lord. Like, I just felt him kind of laughing along with me, of just that sense of like, probably not. No, I don't think you could parallel park in that tiny little.
That's funny.
But yeah, no. So I feel like I hear. I don't know. When I say I hear, I don't audibly, obviously, hear an audible voice, but no, I think it just is that. Yeah, the growth. I feel like it came at a time that really collided, in the sense that he was kind of gone, but also other voices were becoming bigger that didn't even want to be bigger, but were. And yeah, I feel like he was faithful when I was not. And I feel like in a lot of ways, with having the twins and just the amount of stress and pressure that came with that, really was, looking back, at least for me, was kind of him being like, I know what you're capable of. And so I'm going to make sure that I give you more than you can humanly stand, so that you do sit there and go, I need help. And I need something to lean on.
Sure.
Because, yeah, I mean, it was more than both of us. So in some ways, I couldn't lean on you in some ways, because you were exhausted as well. And so having to be like, no, I'm taking away all of your pillars that you would kind of use to prop yourself up, that aren't me, so that you will have to look at me. And I'm happy that he did. One, because I love our beautiful daughters.
Sure.
But also.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, basically, your upbringing has made you probably stronger than most women. When it comes to faith, when it comes to leaning on the Lord, and obviously big props to your dad, and it.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I would actually say, though, there were definitely moments where I felt like I should be stronger than this. Like I should have stronger faith than this, and I should be closer to the Lord than this. So I feel like it's a journey. If anything, you start to realize, you know what, it really is a journey. And you really do, as someone who grew up in the faith of their parents, it really, at every step where you feel like, no, I hold this as mine. I claim this as mine. There really is kind of a growing to how much you claim as you get older to, no, this is true. Now I truly have my own family. I am separated from my parents. This is fully mine. And I have to try and swallow all of it. Like to.
And we have to teach our kids.
Teach our kids how to do it.
It's hard enough to keep ourselves together and be strong. Now we got to make our kids strong too, which sometimes just seems impossible because it's like, man, I can't even get I can't get my own life together, and how am I going to get theirs together?
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine. I can't imagine doing this without the Lord.
Yeah.
Can't imagine doing life without the faith that we have in Jesus and just in our ultimate destiny. Just knowing the truth. It's just hard to imagine life without our faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would get through some things. And obviously, there's been times in our lives where Jesus has not been first and he's been far from first. And looking back, it's like, I don't want to be there.
And that's where I feel like it just was like, God, I know that you're there and I believe in you and I know that but like, I have so much on my plate that instead of it being like, I'm clearing my plate because the only way I can accomplish this is if I have my eyes fixed on you. It's like, I'll get to you as soon as I'm done this plate.
Right.
And it truly was that sense of like, this isn't like, and I don't want to sound like melodramatic, but just like, this isn't fun. Like I am waking up wishing I could go back to sleep. And again, I don't mean like, I wasn't like, that's not a euphemism, go back to sleep. I wasn't like having a hard time. I mean, I just mean like, but I truly was like, all right, now let's just get until we can get the girls down for bed and then we can like zone out and watch The Office or something. Like this is just too much to take on. And I remember your dad being at our house once. I think it was like on a Sunday because I had stayed home with the twins. It was just a lot to try and get them out. And I don't know if one of them was sick, whatever, doesn't matter. He was there to help me. And Annie's in that jumper thing. And like somebody's playing, Addie's like hitting a toy that's like making noises and Molly's yelling about something. And I just remember like it was so normal to me, all of this stimulation. And I looked at him and I was like, hold on 1 second, I got to go take something out. I've got like this headache. And he went, gee, I wonder why. And like it dawning on me, this is too much. Like there's too much happening in this room right now. And this is every day plus crunching numbers and like doing spreadsheets for like an 8-hour job, and it being like, this is, and it was a time in our life. I mean, I don't necessarily, I want to go back. I also don't really want to go back, but but it just being like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm a New York City fast pace, I just don't have time. It was truly feeling like I don't have time. And in reality, it was like the one thing I need to be making time for,
right,
pushing off to the side.
Right. Well, look, let's do our best to keep Jesus first, and to fall back on him even when things are good, even
Yeah.
when things aren't that hard, and things are always going to be hard. Hopefully, they're never that hard again. But
Yeah. Hopefully.
life is not easy, and being a Christian is not easy. And I think that's part of the rewarding, the rewarding part about being a Christian is that it's not an easy thing to do, and but the payoff is,
Well, it does. It turns that trudgery and that just day in and day out grind into joy, into life, to just be able to move through each experience with the Lord. Suddenly, black and white turns into color,
Right.
and that's truly, if anything, I guess that's kind of where I fell in it.
Well, look, we're glad you guys have stuck around for this episode. Hopefully you've gotten through the whole episode, and we're happy to have you here. We're happy to share these experiences with you and share our stories with you. Obviously, if there's anything that we can share with you, the most important thing would just be that Jesus is everything. He's the most important part of our lives, and it's so easy to look back now and say, man, things were so hard, but knowing that we've had Jesus the entire time, I think that is really just one of the, if not the only reason, one of the few reasons why we were able to get through those times, and we were able to get through times that are still happening. If there's any one piece of advice that we could ever share with you, it's that our faith in Jesus is just the most important thing, and it's just the most rewarding thing in our lives. And we celebrate the good times and the bad times, knowing that we have a Savior that gives us eternal life, gives us hope, and we're so happy to share that truth with you. So we thank you for sticking around. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to us if you haven't already. We will see you on the next episode.
8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah, 9, whatever episode number that might be. Was there anything else we needed to throw in?
I think that's
all
it.
right. Well, we hope you guys have a great night, and we will see you on the next episode.